Hello, Mike.
Hey Jarvis, how's it going?
Good, man. Well, not great. Um, I spent some time playing the new Marvel Snap Battle mode with you, and just completely. I didn't know how much you were playing on the toilet. I don't know how you and your wife and kids. I don't know what they do when you're in there, just sitting there for hours. But no. Shout out to you, man.
That is my gaming chair, but
Yeah, we played a bunch of rounds and you won all of them. So I haven't. I don't think I've won a. I haven't won a whole match with you yet, but I'm going to.
not yet, not yet. Yeah, you will. I'm as shocked as you are.
Well,
I definitely thought you were going to destroy me.
My deck, the deck I use the first one is very successful. I win most games with it, but for some reason, your deck that you used was designed to attack that deck. So I don't know. What I'm going there, but we'll figure it out.
Yep.
But it was fun. Like, so for listeners, if you guys haven't downloaded Marvel Snap, you should. It's fun. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything. But
Right.
if you will be behind with cards and stuff, but that's the whole thing. But once you start,
and I haven't paid for a single card yet.
Yeah,
so,
and Mike's doing very well. But there's a new battle mode, and at some point we're going to have a little game session online where we'll just put our codes in, and you guys can join us. We're trying to figure out how to do it.
That'll be fun.
But it'll be fun. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully you guys don't play Mike because he's deadly. All right. What were we talking about today, Mike?
We're talking about Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2, arguably, at the time it came out, it was the best superhero movie ever made.
Yeah, you really hyped me up for this one.
Yeah. And now it's just one of the best superhero movies ever made. There's a couple other superhero movies that I think are good as well, but I think Spider-Man 2 set up that bar. It's like, this is how you make the best movie possible for superheroes, and it's just
it's still exceptional.
Yeah, it's an exceptional film. Every second of it is a joy to watch. There's never a moment where you're kind of bored or don't want to look at the screen. All the actors bring their A game to the table. It's completely well cast. The script's great. We've got Tobey Maguire, Kristen Dunst, Alfred Moloney, James Franco, Rosemary Harris, who played May Parker, which I thought was fantastic. J.K. Simmons, which is great. Somebody who people don't talk about much is Donna Murphy, who is Doc Ock's wife. I think she did a good job with her role. And then of course we got William Dafoe makes a guest appearance. Elizabeth Banks is a little side project there.
That's crazy. Elizabeth Banks. She's the
Miss
J. Jonah Jameson's secretary.
And Miss Brandt is actually a pretty big. She was a big Spider-Man character in the comics back in the 60s and 70s. So she's actually a pretty big character.
Interesting. Okay.
There was a little love thing with her and Peter Parker back in the day with that. Yeah. Well, Peter Parker.
Yeah, there's flavors of that in this movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's so interesting, like especially Alfred Molina. I want to talk a second about Alfred Molina. He was such an inspired casting, and once he starts being Doc Ock, he is Doc Ock. He brings this idea that I'm smarter than everyone else, I'm better than everyone else. He has a gravitas to him, but at the same time, he's vulnerable. And at the end, of course, there's some redemption, but still, this movie would not be good without him. He just brings it. And I don't know if people know, but Alfred Molina, Mike, what movie was his first movie?
Dude, I have no idea.
Indiana Jones and the Ark, the first one.
The first one,
yeah,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the guy who betrayed Harrison Ford and took through the whip and all this other stuff at the very beginning. So,
okay.
So if you ever watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, which you should watch Raiders of the Lost Ark at least once a year, as I do, then you'll see him. But it's again, Spider-Man 2, just a brilliant casting. Without the cast, it wouldn't have done anything. But also the script's smart. There's all these kind of jokes. And the movie even the beginning of the movie sets up perfectly. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in the comics, Spider-Man is always struggling, always struggling. He's always has a problem. He barely pays rent on time. He has a hard time
Mm-hmm.
juggling being Spider-Man, Peter Parker. The villains make his life a living hell. And the beginning of the movie where he has to hurry from school to his job at the pizza joint, and then he has to change to Spider-Man to help someone, or he's being Spider-Man to get across town, but then he has to save someone and makes him late.
Right.
I mean, that's quintessential Spider-Man. Like if you read the comics, you understand that there's never a day where Peter Parker has an easy day. It's always hard, but he always does the right thing. And again,
Yeah, they really did a great job of capturing that in this movie.
it's a constant struggle. But this interesting. What I thought was interesting is in the comics there's that classic scene. I think you remember, Mike, where the Spider-Man suit is in a trash can and he walks away. That's a classic Spider-Man comic cover. I might link it so people can see it.
I've never seen
Yeah,
that.
there was a very dramatic moment where Spider-Man says, "No more. I'm not going to be Spider-Man anymore. I'm going to retire. I'm done." And if you think about it, like when you become a superhero like Spider-Man, the only reason you're doing it is because you think it's the right thing. There's no reward. It's all negative. It's net negative constantly.
Right.
Like you're getting beat up, you're risking your life. And like you have to, you have all this.
Yeah, nobody's doling out dollars to Spider-Man.
No, because you just think this is the right thing to do. I have to do it. But there's also some guilt for Peter Parker. It's like if I would have done the right thing, my uncle would still be alive. And so that's one of the driving forces. With great power comes great responsibility. But I think that in Spider-Man 2, he comes to a realization is like, I just can't do all this. And the reason he has a realization is because he has like these panic attacks that causes his powers to kind of short circuit, which I think is really interesting. Listeners, if you're going through your day and you're feeling weird for a second, if your head's like light or you just kind of feel panicked, you're probably having a panic attack. And people have mini panic attacks and major panic attacks all the time. And that's when you just have a moment of being overwhelmed. I have panic attacks a lot, and I kind of learned to kind of deal with it through breathing exercises and other means. But in this case, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, his powers stopped working. So he not only is he like struggling to be Spider-Man, but all of a sudden he's having a hard time using his web shooters. He's having a hard time sticking to walls. He's having a hard time just being who he is. And so the script itself just sets up this amazing moments where he's having a hard time being Spider-Man. He quits being Spider-Man. He has to become a Spider-Man again to save Mary Jane Watson. It's just so good. The whole movie's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really, really good. I was kind of blown away by it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. It's a great movie.
I remember seeing it in the theater and just like being so amazed at what I saw when I saw it. And the end scene, I think, is probably one of the best. Is when Mary Jane, leaves the altar and she's running through New York in her wedding dress, which is just, just a beautiful scene. And she shows up at Peter's door, and they confess their love for each other. And then, of course, he has to leave. But Kristen Dunst's face when she's like watching him leave and she leans against the door frame, she's kind of sad. She's like, what am I doing? So it's not like a happy ending. It's more like this might turn out bad. And that's, again, that's kind of how it's supposed to be. The Peter Parker Mary Jane connection is supposed to be that way. And I do want to say too, when Spider-Man 2 came out, this was, I think, the Spider-Man character in the comics was still married to Mary Jane. So Mary Jane and Peter were married in the comics for a long period of time, and they had a really interesting relationship because Peter had to juggle his marriage and his work and his school and everything else. And it was really interesting to see them have this dynamic where they're together trying to be Spider-Man together as husband and wife. Eventually, Marvel made a huge mistake and retroactively changed it, which is just a terrible nightmare. But in the comics, like Peter and Mary Jane are kind of off again, on again. Not really. Which is really sad because I wish that readers that read the comics now, I wish they saw and read I guess you can read them now. Like go back to the late, like between 85 to 1995, read those comics, and like the relationship is fantastic, and it's the same relationship that you see in Spider-Man 2 between Mary Jane and Peter Parker. And I think Kristen Dunst casting, and I think Tobey Maguire's casting's fine. I think he's not.
He's better at the emotional scenes in this movie.
Yeah, he's a better actor in general in this movie. But the casting between those two is really good. And I mean, they keep making more complications for Peter because, like, technically Harry used to date Mary Jane. Now she's getting married. It's just like,
right.
And like, there's so much. Anyway, I'm just talking too much because I love this movie.
What did you think of the openings? The opening credits?
Well, the Spire stuff?
Just there's like all this animation and titles and stuff. I was like, I don't really need this.
The X-Men movies did that too. I think it was a thing that they just wanted to do for a while. It's like these really dramatic opening scenes. The X-Men did it, and then Spider-Man did. Of course, Marvel's kind of gotten away from it, which is, I think, is fine.
Right.
I
mean, James Bond did a great job of that, but this movie, there wasn't anything super special about it.
It's interesting as a side note. I saw Tar a little while ago. They ran all their end credits at the very beginning of the movie, and they forced you to read all the credits of the whole movie.
That's interesting.
I thought it was brilliant. It's like, you have to watch this.
Did they reformat them so they like took less time, or is it your standard?
No, it took the same amount of time. It took about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I thought, this is brilliant. Like, I forgot I was watching a movie for a while. I was like, and then I thought, did I watch the wrong movie? But anyway, I don't know why I said that.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But going back to what you said.
Well, like trailers are called trailers because they used to happen after the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the only time we've had a trailer that happened after the movie in recent times was the first trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
It's at the end of Spider-Man. You know what? I like that trailer. I like that. I like that they did that.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple things I want to go over. First, I want to go over two things in this movie that I thought was really good and really smart. The first was the whole dynamic where they made Peter Parker not be Spider-Man for a while, and they have that rain keeps on falling on my head. That whole like,
that was an interesting scene.
Yeah, and it showed that, hey, I can have a good life and I don't have to be Spider-Man. And if you saw that, he had time to go see Mary Jane's play. He got his homework done, all kinds of other stuff. But at the end of the day, if you have powers like Spider-Man, you have to use them for good. And I think he realizes that. But then, of course, one of the best action scenes in superhero history is the train scene with the Doc Ock and Spider-Man fighting. That scene is exactly what you want to see when you see a Spider-Man movie. That scene was awesome. I loved it so much.
The ending of the train scene actually made me tear up.
Yeah, that's a little, just
because like all the love everybody was feeling for Spider-Man.
Then they crowd surfed him up and all this other stuff, and they carried his body. That was heavy handed. Like I love Sam Raimi, but good lord,
it worked on me, man. It worked on me.
Oh, that's nice.
Because they're like, they see his face, and they all have this, like, there's not a single person there. It's like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They're all like, okay, no, we know we're not going to reveal your identity.
Mm-hmm.
You saved our lives.
Yeah.
So that was that scene really hit me.
Yeah, I mean, when he when he decides to save the train, he does that, and then they carry his body and they help him. That whole thing's pretty good. It's very thought out. One interesting,
and it shows you you talk about power levels all the time. It shows you how incredibly strong Spider-Man is.
Okay, I want to make this,
how much he holds back all the time.
I want to make this pretty clear. What that Spider-Man did in Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, could the Spider-Man in the comics do that? I don't think so. I don't think he's that strong. So there's it took this Spider-Man to the edge. Yeah,
like he barely survived it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree.
But like my son was doing some math last night while watching this. What? He's like calculating like how far can Spider-Man jump? It's like 170 feet.
That sounds about right.
Because he's scaling up like how far like a spider can jump, and he's like, how fast can Spider-Man run? It was like crazy. It was like 380 some miles per hour.
Yeah, Spider-Man can't do that.
Spider-Man.
It's a bit proportional.
Like if you scaled up a spider, And then he's like, I've got to factor in wind resistance, but I can't do that. So,
Your son's smart.
Yeah.
The train sequence is really interesting. That's one of the first scenes they did.
And it was, I think I read that.
They actually storyboarded it for the first movie, so it was already storyboarded. I have some facts.
Do you know who the first person that says to Doc Ock, "You're gonna have to go through me to get to Spider-Man"? Is?
No, who?
It's Joey Diaz. He's a comedian.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I do have some Screen Rant facts about the movie I thought would be fun. So Doc Ock was supposed to be in the first movie. Thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. There was going to be
You know what? I'm going to say it. I think Doc Ock's a better villain in this movie than Green Goblin was in the first movie.
Mike, yeah, this movie is like 4 or 5 times better than Spider-Man 1. Let's keep this quick.
Okay, all right. I thought I was saying something profound there.
No, you're not. Like Spider-Man 1's good, and it's good because it sets up Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 2 is like Spider-Man 2 is it's the movie. Right. Did you know that there were going to be a love triangle between Doc Ock and Mary Jane and Peter? There was going to be a younger version of Doc Ock, and they were going to have a love triangle. That would have been terrible.
That would have been interesting.
The fire scene, they were practical effects. That was a real fire.
Where he runs in and saves that girl.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool how she helped him up.
Yeah, that was
cool.
Was like people laughed when people laughed when I was in the theater. They said, "Come on," but like it was fun. Okay, so So first of all, there's a couple things about the movie I think is interesting. First, everybody knows that Sam Raimi directed Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. If you haven't watched those movies, you should. They're pretty awesome. But they're horror movies, kind of. And then we saw some of the Sam Raimi horror stuff in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. But the scene where the
and in this movie,
the scene with the tentacles when they kill all the people in the operating
room,
that was a brutal scene. That scene is great. It's brutal and it's like scary.
Yeah, that's the note that I have for that scene is that there's a real feeling of peril.
Yes.
In the operating room when they're working with Dr. Otto.
Yeah, it's like so good.
And like more so than almost any MCU movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's pushing the limits of PG-13 or whatever it is. Like it's like it's a little rough, but it's so good. And of course, like Doc Ock kills many people in the operating room, but it's just like it just kind of shows Raimi's ability to direct that, which is really cool. Those arms, most of those arms were real practical effects. They were actually real arms. They made those arms, and the suit that Dr. Ock wears is like 100 pounds. So that whole thing was a whole upgrade. Like
in this movie, whenever I might get it backwards, but whenever Doc Ock is standing and the arms are being used, that is practical effects, I think. And whenever he's floating and the arms are like carrying him, that's CG.
Yeah, there's a lot of CG in this movie. I think they spent $54 million on computer generated effects alone. But if you look at the arm motions for the if you watch this movie real carefully, you will notice that there's 4 different sets of arms. 2 of the arms have these kind of like thick, sort of like hooks, like manacles. Those are the ones on the lower half of his body, and those are the ones that are constantly holding. So if you look at the train scene, one arm is keeping him tied to the train while the other 3 arms are fighting Spider-Man. And the 2 arms above him, the 2 arms up, have like sort of like mancers that aren't as like grippy, and they have like different effects.
Like a dagger.
Yeah.
Built into them.
So watch this movie again if you haven't watched this. One arm is constantly holding the ground, and it answers the question: how can a human being have like the ability to navigate these arms when like leverage is a problem? But if you watch, the arms are constantly holding things in place for him to kind of move. It's really well done. And the scene where he captures Aunt May, it kind of shows that. And
his arms are really well done throughout the movie.
Yeah,
I will say, in Spider-Man 1, I think they did a better job of hiding the CG than they did in Spider-Man 2. Particularly at the very beginning of Spider-Man 2, the web slinging does not look great.
No, in Spider-Man 2, it's getting to this point where if you watch Spider-Man 2 and then you watch other movies like Blade 2, and if you watch The Matrix the Matrix. What's the first? What? This Matrix.
The second one.
Yeah, what's it called? Matrix.
I have no idea.
Reloaded. Matrix Reloaded. If you watch those movies, the CGI generation is around the same time of all three movies, and it doesn't look good. Like they were trying to create these CGI movements of people that look like real people, but they don't. They look terrible. Now, if you watch a superhero movie now, you can't tell the difference. There's lots of times, like if you watched Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, you know that scene where Scarlet Witch kills all those people, the superheroes? They weren't there. They were just using their heads. Like none of those people. So at this point in special effects, you can film a whole movie and you can't tell a difference between real and fake most times. But back when Spider-Man 2 was out, it's obvious that special effects and it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible and dead.
Yeah.
Cool fact. Most people don't know, there's a comic book story where Doc Ock marries or tries to marry Aunt May. Crazy.
Okay.
It was terrible. It was bad. What else? What other kind of cool things? That's it, really.
I've got some quizzes for you.
Oh, great!
See if you can get the answer right.
I probably
instead
won't.
of me.
Let's try it.
You know, it's usually me on the other end of this.
Yeah, hit me.
All right. Who was Peter's boss at the pizzeria that he worked at?
I have no idea.
Who played that character?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
All right. It's Asif Manvi from The Daily Show.
Oh, yeah. I recognize him. Yep, that's him. Huh.
I think he also was in the really bad Avatar: The Last Airbender movie.
Oh, I never saw that. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Give me another one.
All right. Who was the receptionist that received the pizzas? And she's like, "You're late. I'm not going to pay for this."
Oh! Don't tell me. Oh, I don't know. Who is it?
Emily Deschanel.
Is that a Deschanel sister? Or Deschanel? Is she a Deschanel?
It is.
Ah,
it is. Yes.
Okay, great.
She played Bones on TV.
Oh, TV yeah. I watched that once.
Yep.
Give me another one.
I actually, okay, yeah. So in the elevator scene, who's the actor that was annoying Peter Parker?
You know what? He's supposed to be famous, but I don't know who he is. But it's supposed to be a funny thing that he was in there, but I have no idea who he is.
He's not famous. He's a comedian, primarily, I think. His name's Hal Sparks.
I have no idea who that is.
He was in like these kids shows that my kids watched, but he's also a comedian.
Oh, okay. Give me another one. Give me one I can answer.
I think I'm out of quizzes right now.
Okay, well, that's it.
Yeah, ran out. Well, there's one more.
Go.
Much like, excuse me, much like Peter Gunn. That's not Peter. James Gunn. Much like James Gunn has his brother in his movies. Sam Raimi has his brother in this movie.
Really? What's his name?
Which character did he play?
I don't know. Ideas? No idea.
Hoffman is how he's credited.
Who's Hoffman?
I'm pretty sure it's the dark-headed guy that works in the office with J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh! You know what? I do recognize him. I know exactly who you're talking about now. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
And of course, Bruce Campbell was in this movie. Bruce Campbell is Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah, he plays the usher, and it's like a super funny scene.
Right.
You watched the extended 2.0, right? 2.1?
2.1, yes. So when I bought this from Apple when I started watching, I was like, oh, I have options of what I want to watch. Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 2.1. So 2.1
has extra scenes in it. A bunch of different extra scenes. The train fight's a little longer.
It's 8 minutes long. Yeah. There's the fight between Spider-Man and Doc Ock with May Parker is longer. Yeah.
You know, I only watched that one time. I for some reason I don't like sometimes I don't like watching extended versions. The only extended version I like is the Lord of the Rings movies. Those extended versions I feel like are canon, but sometimes it ruins the first experience for me a little bit. It's like
well, Sam Raimi says the director's cut is the theatrical cut.
The one that came out in the theaters is the one he likes. Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I do like the extended birthday scene between Tobey Maguire and Harry Osborn, because it like in the theatrical cut they end that scene on a really like harsh note where like Harry had just said something really bad to Spider-Man or Peter Parker. And then they end the scene. And then in the extended one, he says that, and then he gets up and kind of walks around. He's like, you know what? I'm not, I don't want to get all over you. It's your birthday. We're buds. I liked that extended cut of that scene.
The Harry Osborn Spider-Man relationship here is so good, I think, because let's take Harry's arc. In the Spider-Man 1, he thinks that Spider-Man killed his dad. And then he's just like trying to figure out ways to get Spider-Man. And he's drinking too much, he's having emotional issues. And then when he actually finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, he becomes even more obsessed. He becomes even more deranged. And not only is their friendship frayed, but the love interest of Mary Jane's frayed. I mean, like, they really did a really good job building up Harry. When we get to Spider-Man 3, we'll talk about the payoff of that. But I think for Spider-Man 2, Harry did a great job. I think the character itself is smart, and the way he interacts with everybody was pretty good. Some of the stuff with Harry Osborn starts hinting at some of the problems that Spider-Man 3 is going to have, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, it's smart. The best thing about this movie is that they did not try to shoehorn too many villains in. The main costume villain was Doc Ock. They got to spend time with him. And I'll just tell you, like, one of the most fun scenes for me and most exciting scenes for me is when, like, Peter in the coffee shop gets embarrassed by Doc Ock, and Doc Ock throws him into a wall, which probably would have killed him. But then, like, he gets up and he drops his glasses and he, like, decides to be Spider-Man again. And like, I just love that scene where, like, James is like, I want Spider-Man, and then it shows Spider-Man actually swinging again. It's like, that he was going to become Spider-Man at some point, but the movie makes you forget that he's Spider-Man. And then finally we see him swinging towards Doc Ock for battle. I thought that was just brilliant. It's so many smart things in that movie. They did a really good job. And even at the end, Doc Ock's the one who comes to his senses and saves the city. Even though he's tried to destroy it, and even the motivations of Doc Ock are being hindered by the tentacles and the AI affecting him. Everything about this script was thought out. It was smart. It was well delivered. It was perfectly done. It's just you can't, like, it's like the only movie that we've seen since then as good as this one. I would argue Captain America, Winter Soldier, from concept to actually fulfillment. Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, all falls in that category as well. This superhero movies that could have been terrible, that weren't, that were just perfectly done. And I will say this one more thing. Spider-Man No Way Home's success is tied to the success of Spider-Man 2, right? Because we got to have those memories again when they brought it back for us to watch, which is good. Anyway,
there's some great cinematography in this movie that I think elevates it to a level beyond those two movies that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's that cool scene towards the end where Peter Parker is staring at, like, Doc Ock is staring at Peter Parker because he's about to go underwater to stop that thing. And then Peter Parker turns and stares at Mary Jane because he sees that he's Spider-Man. And, like, the camera just plays with all these people. I will say this, and this is something that you might notice. It's hard to say, but there's when Kristen Dunst is, like, being, like, is kidnapped with Doc Ock, the camera's kind of focused on Kristen Dunst's, like, appearance. That's all I'll say. Pretty hardcore. And, like, they could have made this a little less, like, I don't know, sexual. It's more. It's not long, but still, it's like
she's drawn that way in the comics too, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but we can be beyond our primal selves. This is just me. Anyway, that's the only thing. But yeah, cinematography is fantastic, and, like, it's kind of surprising that Raimi, after Spider-Man. Well, no, it's not. I know exactly. Yeah. I was going to say that surprising that Sam Raimi didn't do more superhero movies, but I kind of know. I kind of understand why he didn't know. But he's probably going. He's going to do more. Yeah. Isn't he going to do?
I mean, after seeing this, I really think, like, he needs to do more superhero movies for either Marvel or DC.
Isn't he going to do another one for Marvel?
I don't know.
He was greenlight for one, didn't he? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Well, he did Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but maybe he didn't. Doctor Strange was great. He did a great job with that. Yeah, I think Raimi should definitely do some more. I would love to see him do another superhero movie, another Marvel movie. I would love to see him play with Shang-Chi. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that could be really good.
Yeah, and
he's got like he just nails like the storytelling.
Mm-hmm. He knows what he's doing,
and like giving the movie style that you don't often get in a lot of these superhero movies.
Apparently, he had some beef with Dan Elfman. Like they won't work together anymore after Spider-Man
2. I read that, but they have since gotten back together.
Oh, that's nice.
Something.
I wonder what happened. Yeah. Didn't Dan Elfman do the score for Doctor Strange? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
He may have. Yeah, I think he may have. Danny Elfman was a member of Oingo Boingo.
I have no idea what that is.
What?
Am I supposed to know?
It's a big '80s band.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think that's it. I mean, if you haven't watched Spider-Man 2, definitely watch it. It's fantastic. It's such a great movie from beginning to end. Everything about and what saddens me is the special effects are dated. Like the CGI is definitely
like this is one movie where I would actually love somebody to George Lucas it.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome.
Just come back and fix all the special effects.
Spider-Man 2 revisited. They could call it that, and just like have
this movie is so good.
They would.
And it just had like the
updated
special effects were the wrong year.
Yeah,
you know, like if it was a few years later, it would have been so much better.
Do you know, like, and once again, like Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 has an enormous amount of city web swinging scenes,
and I loved it.
I don't understand why we didn't have these scenes in the Homecoming series. Like, why didn't they?
Because they.
It doesn't make any sense. Like what? Like the best web swinging scene in the Homecoming series was the very last one. In
the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
the last 5 minutes out of the trilogy.
What is wrong with you guys? Like it's just silly. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I feel gypped with Tom Holland's. I love Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but it's like the Bond movies for me with Pierce Brosnan. I think Pierce Brosnan was the best James Bond.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think he got the worst scripts.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah, they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible.
Like, after GoldenEye, they were not good.
No.
GoldenEye's a great movie.
GoldenEye's the best one he did, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so this is a great movie. Another thing, just like putting MJ on all these posters throughout the city. Like, she's on billboards. She's on posters that are glued up to walls and stuff. And it's great the way they play that in scenes where it's like MJ's looking at Spider-Man as he walks past the posters, and it just plays so well. It's another like really artful touch, I think, that they did to the movie.
Yeah. All right, so
and one like the one last thing was the what's the scene where Peter Parker gets slapped? He gets slapped by
Harry. Slaps him twice.
By Harry. Harry slaps him twice, and then like a second later, he gets slapped a third time by Mary Jane's marriage being announced.
That's
like bam, bam, bam.
That scene with Harry is brutal. Like that scene with Harry is like, how do you save a friendship? You know, like after you get slapped in the face. Getting slapped in the face is super insulting. Like, and like to have that happen to you, and then like find out that Mary Jane's getting married. And no wonder, like when he's swinging away, his powers stop working because he's having a hard time living. Anyway,
right.
So hey, listeners, I hope that you enjoyed Spider-Man 2. I hope that you enjoyed my exuberance, my passion, because when we talk about Spider-Man 3, it's going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be my disgust. It's going to be my anger. It's going to be my disappointment. So just know right now that Spider-Man 3 is not as good, or even half as good, or even a little bit as good as Spider-Man 2. Like, what a disaster. We'll just save that for next time.
I don't even remember what I'm up against next week.
I can't wait for you to watch Spider-Man 3 and like it, and then get angry at me for not liking it, which is going to happen. And there's actually Jamel Bowie.
It might.
There's a guy named Jamel Bowie. He's a writer for the Washington Post. Hopefully he's listening. He's actually defended Spider-Man 3. I'm going to try to find. He wrote an article about. He said why Spider-Man 3 is better than you think. And like I was like, whatever.
Well, maybe he and I are on the same page because I defend Iron Man 3.
Spider-Man 3 is terrible, and we're going to talk about why. I'm going to give you 10 reasons why Spider-Man 3 is bad. We'll go ahead and get into it. Anyway, we have some news that we can abuse pretty badly because we got a huge news, but it's not Marvel news. It is DC news. We all know that what's his name? Taika Waititi. He's taken over DC movies.
Oh, James Gunn.
Oh, is it James Gunn? Oh, okay. I get him confused. Okay.
Come on, man.
James Gunn has taken over DC
Taika
movies.
Waititi did Thor Love and Thunder. James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. So James Gunn is taking...
And Suicide Squad and The Peacemaker.
Yeah. James Gunn has taken over DC, and he's completely gutted it, and he's starting from scratch, literally. So we're going to talk about the new movies that he's announced. There's 11 projects that he's announced, so I'm going to go over them individually. First, it's going to be a movie called Superman Legacy. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be a different Superman, and it's not going to be the Superman. It's not going to be Henry Cavill. It's going to be somebody else. So that's crazy.
Yeah, younger Superman.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. I think it's based off of the comic, which is very well done. People love the Supergirl comics, so it's going to be based off that. We'll see. They're going to make a Brave and the Bold Batman movie, and it's going to be Batman and his son, Damian Wayne. The biggest controversy with Damian Wayne is a lot of people don't want him to be casted as a white person because technically Damian Wayne is part Arabic, part Chinese, but we'll see how they cast it. We don't know. It's gonna be a Paradise Lost movie. It's gonna be a Wonder Woman. It's a HBO Max series. It's a Wonder Woman HBO Max series. It's going just to be about I never pronounce this right. Amazons of Themyscira. The Amazons of it's just talking about the Amazons, which would be cool. It's gonna be Games of Thrones.
Yeah, I can never pronounce that.
It's gonna be Games of Thrones, which would be interesting. They're making a boost.
Yeah, I saw that. That stood out to me. That seems
good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of DC Amazon stories that can be told. It's gonna be fantastic.
And I guess it's not really gonna center on Wonder Woman, right?
It's gonna be centered around the Amazons. No, she won't be in it.
Yeah. Okay.
They're making a Booster Gold HBO Max series. Okay, whatever.
The first time I ever heard of Booster Gold was when on Reddit I posted, "Hey, if Edgar Wright was going to direct a movie for DC, what would it be?" And tons of people replied with Booster Gold.
Booster Gold is a time traveler from the future who comes to the present. He's like a movie star in the future. That's all I know about him. He's a guy, good buddy, the Blue Beetle. They're kind of partners. I don't care. We'll see. I mean, people have been begging for Booster Gold forever. That's fine. Make it. I don't know. I still don't have anything to say about it.
I've never heard of the dude before that day.
There's some comic book characters that people really want to have. Like, they want to make it happen. And I don't know. We'll see. They're making
I do have an idea for a movie that I think Edgar Wright would be good at for DC, and I think you're going to be talking about it in a little bit. So
okay,
wait until then.
We'll save it. I lost my notes. Where is it? Not that one. They're making a Creature Commandos animated series. I don't know what that is. They're making Amanda.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be flavored kind of like Suicide Squad, but instead of humans, it's creatures.
I'm not watching that. There's an Amanda Waller series. That
could be good.
So I don't know. There's an Amanda Waller series. So Amanda Waller is in charge of like a clandestine superhero group. The Task Force X. She's in charge of it. So she's kind of in charge of the Suicide Squad, and they're making a whole show around her. It's a show? Yeah, it's a show. So that'd be cool. Yeah. I think Amanda Waller's show about her being in charge of like some clandestine superheroes. That'd be kind of neat.
I mean, actress is really good because I hate her.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate her.
They're making a Green Lantern TV show, and I'm going to read the description. Lanterns will revolve around the two best-known members of the Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, as they investigate a mystery that is expected to play a big role in the main story of DCU's Chapter 1. And it says here, this will be HBO quality event, very much in vein of True Detectives. but it's not going to be based in space necessarily. It's going to be Earthbound, so they're going to be Green.
Well, these are the Earth protectors out of the Green Lanterns, right?
Yeah, which is fine, but I'm curious. I will tell you this right now. Lanterns has to be super excellent, because if it's not, fans are going to explode. They've been waiting for a Green Lantern show. They've been waiting for a really good Green Lantern property with Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan forever. And we have the technology and CGI to do it now. We have the ability to make their Green Lantern projections look awesome. This has to be really, really good.
I got 2 questions for you. Will Jon Stewart play Jon Stewart?
No, Jon Stewart's black guy.
Oh, okay. I wonder if Jon Stewart named himself after the comic book character.
No, I think he changed his last name at some point.
He did change his last name because it's a Jewish last name, and he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah, I hate when they do that. They're making a swamp.
No, but second question. Okay. Will Ryan Reynolds be one of the Lanterns?
No, absolutely not. He's doing Deadpool.
I would kind of love it if that happened.
No, he's doing Deadpool. He doesn't want anything to do with Green Lantern, because Green Lantern, that movie sucked. Swamp Thing, they're making a swamp.
It'd be nice to have him, like, redeem himself there.
Yeah, maybe. They're making a Swamp Thing movie, which I think is really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're making the Authority movie. So this is interesting.
The Swamp Thing movie is the one that I thought would be really good for Edgar Wright.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I think so.
Or Sam Raimi.
I think Edgar Wright, either one of them would make a really good Swamp Thing movie. Here's the most interesting one. They're making The Authority. If you don't know, The Authority is based... So this is going to take a long time for me to explain. I'm going to do it real fast.
Yeah, I don't know anything about The Authority.
Image Comics made a bunch of different comic books way back in the day with Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and a bunch of others. Okay?
Hey, Jarvis.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
I actually had a few #1 issues of Image Comics.
That's awesome. Everybody does. Because
really?
we all thought it'd be worth some money, and they're not. They're not worth anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bought them when they first came out.
So they made a bunch of these superheroes. Okay, and
Max, I think, was one of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Big purple guy.
Yep. At one point, Image was taken over by Warren Ellis. He actually wrote a ton of comics for Image Comics, and one of them.
Oh, that's that problematic guy that you mentioned before.
Yeah, he got Me Too'd a little while ago. Well, I don't know the results of it, but apparently he did do some things that are questionable with some of his assistants, which I don't know. Anyway, he did a whole thing with these guys, and The Authority is really, really good. And he actually did something called The Authority and Planetary. These stories with The Authority and Planetary are considered like super amazing. They're super fun to read. They're very intricate. I don't know if they can do The Authority without Warren Ellis's input. Not because of any kind of rights he has, just because he's the only one that knows these characters and knows why they were awesome. So you might expect to see some Warren Ellis stuff coming into this. And if they touch on The Authority, they might touch on other things too. And one more thing before we wrap up. The Authority was an Image storyline, but DC bought Image at one point and took all their properties. So The Authority moved from an Image universe story to a DC story. I don't know how much they sink in. This might be either really smart or terrible. I don't know yet. Because if you look at the graphic I showed, like some of the characters are straight up cribbed from DC characters. Like the Midnighter is a Batman knockoff. We've got this one guy who's a Superman knockoff. We got one guy who's a Doctor Strange knockoff. So I don't know how this is going to work. And this is one of those, this is a landmine. Don't be...
DC's Doctor Strange or Marvel's
Doctor Strange. Don't be surprised if this movie doesn't come out. That's all I'll say. Because I think they'll start making it and it'll be like, this ain't working. And they'll just kick it. I'm almost 100% positive. Anyway, they're making the Batman 2. So of course the original Batman that came out was really good. So they're making another one.
Yeah, I thought what they decided to do there was really smart. So they're carving out space for stuff outside of the connected DC universe.
Yeah.
And the Batman 2 is part of that.
Yeah, we'll see.
They call it like DC Elseworlds, I think.
Yeah, Elseworlds. So back in the day, DC made comics called Elseworlds, and these comics were stories that were outside of the universe. It was in a different universe, so it was a way for them to explore. Okay. It's sort of like what if? It's what if for DC. That's how you should think of it.
Do you think they'll roll with the Batman with Robert Pattinson?
They're probably gonna make 3 movies. Yeah, I guarantee you he has a 3-movie contract. This movie made a lot of money. They're gonna make some more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because think about it, he scrapped everything else except that. So he scrapped everything else. Everything that DC's done to try and make a superhero universe, he scrapped it except for that.
Well, I guess somehow the Flash that's yet to come out is going to be the point of rebooting the DC universe.
We'll see. That movie's, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. This is so tricky. And I'm curious to see if they're in it to win it long term. And we got to wait until their properties start coming out. But Marvel's popularity with their Marvel properties is starting to decline. People have seen these guys for a long time.
Right.
People are getting bored. This is a moment for DC to start ramping up their properties and start doing some good stuff. We'll just see how it goes. And of course,
well, they are really ambitious with what they're talking about, because they're talking about movies, TV shows, comic books, I think. Maybe not. And video games are all going to be like intertwined.
They have no reason not to be ambitious. They have no reason. They have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain. The key question is, my biggest fear is, they should not try to be Marvel. They need to be their own thing. And they need to make it so people, like, I like the idea of a Swamp Thing show. They should do more like that. DC has a bunch of weird stuff like that, like dark, weird stuff that they should be working on. They should be working on the HBO series. HBO should have 4 or 5 different DC series constantly. And that's where I think, make it adult, make it sophisticated, make it interesting. Don't go for the Marvel stuff. But Warner Brothers is probably just trying to make some money. And so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. We'll keep an eye on it. And of course,
you said that you thought, based on the comics that James Gunn shared as kind of inspiration for the way forward, you said you thought he was going to take a more artistic route than what Marvel's been doing.
100%. I mean, just based off the Swamp Thing announcement, and just based off like Superman Legacy and some other things, he's going to take a more. It's not about like punching people or super fight scenes. It's more about like cerebral, and I think that's great. They need to make their stuff different. The key question is people going to watch it? I mean, it's so much different. Like when Spider-Man 2 came out, there was so much less stuff to watch, but we're inundated. You can't watch everything that's out. You can't. It's impossible to watch every show that comes out every year. You can't do it. And so they're competing against each other. And so we'll just have to see, like, can you convince people to get an HBO Max subscription? Can you convince people to go see this movie instead of another movie, right? It's tough, man. When you look at the money market and the capitalism behind the entertainment properties of Marvel and DC, it's hard. Like, people want to have a certain amount of money, but more importantly, people want to have a certain amount of time. I don't watch TV. I play video games, and so like I've been like
right.
So I'd have to not play video games to watch TV, and like I don't want to. So like, how do you?
Well, good news for you. Like DC's, that's part of their scope, is they're gonna tie this into their video games.
But video games are so hard to make. That's good right now. As a side note, do you know that Marvel Avengers video game that came out like a year and a half, 2 years ago? There's a Marvel Avengers game on Xbox and other properties that you can get, and it's pretty fun. They're not supporting it anymore. So it's like, what? So it's like it's so, everything that James Gunn is trying to do is super hard. And what I
heard, by the way, that the Guardians of the Galaxy game is actually surprisingly good.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that too. It's supposed to be really, really good. Mm-hmm. Here's what I wish James Gunn would have done. I wish that he would have said, there's only one thing we'll talk about today, and that's Superman Legacy. It's the first movie we're going to make. It's going to be awesome. Thank you. But instead, they gave us this big list, and like putting that out there like that, hopefully you got to do it, right? So anyway, that's it for.
Well, it's good. It sets their targets on something.
Yeah, we'll see. That's news, and of course, we'll cover all that stuff here on the Super Sideshow podcast. We'll cover all that stuff for you guys.
Right. And what's up next? We're going to be talking about Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, one of the worst movies ever. Not the worst superhero movie ever made. One of the worst movies ever made. Just a bad movie. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about Spider-Man 3, and of course, more news you can abuse. And man, Mike, after Spider-Man 3, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Wow, man. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that big time.
Me too. Well, I don't know if I'm looking forward to it big time. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it little time.
Yeah. So, Mike, let me ask you a question. You listen to our podcast and you want to send it to your friends and family so they listen to it. How do you get that to happen?
Hit the share button right now. However you're listening to this, there's a share button somewhere. Find it, hit it, and then share this. Share it with your friends, your family, whoever. Your strange coworker that can't stop talking about comic books and stuff like that. Share it.
Why is he strange?
Huh?
He's not strange. He's a normal person.
I meant cool. Did I say strange? Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, so we're on Mastodon.
We're on Mastodon, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter.
I'm no longer on Twitter or Instagram anymore, which is so interesting.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm on Mastodon. If you guys want, I'm very active on Mastodon too. If you want to hang out, and we
Mastodon's a good spot.
Yeah, it's good.
James Gunn, the new head of DC, is also on Mastodon.
More people will be on Mastodon in the next 6 months. So just create an account, join up, and
just go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
you're gonna do it sooner or later. Might as well do it now.
Yeah, and YouTube, Reddit. Yeah, YouTube is great. Check us out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next week. Make sure you watch Spider-Man 3 so you can agree with me that's terrible. Also, if you haven't gotten a Marvel Snap game yet, get that so you can play with us at some point in the future.